Hello, welcome to All Points TV. My name is Sam Jahari, and welcome to Briona's Legacy. Today I have a special guest with me. Listen, when we got this thing started, I lost a child, and I wanted to bring the stigma. I wanted to bring it out in the open, and the only way we can make changes is by communicating. And that's why, I go into these schools. That's why I have this radio show. And Billy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Billy is a recovering addict. In the United States, we have 10% is what we call recovering addicts. Then we have 10% who are the addicts. So that's 20% of our population, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Billy, tell me your story a little bit. What kind of house did you grow up in and stuff like that?
Well, we live in a society where people judge people by the way that they look. And
exactly. Exactly.
You see somebody walking down the street and they happen to have hair, down to their waist like Jesus did, and instead of him being a Jesus follower, he's a drug addict. He's
yes.
going to be a misfit to society, and that's absolutely false. I grew up in an absolutely wonderful family. I am one of 4 other children. I grew up in Grand Blanc, Michigan. That is a very nice area.
It is a nice area.
My mom and dad are absolutely amazing people. People think that us drug addicts and the people that suffer with the disease of addiction, that we come from horrible families.
Exactly.
That's another statement that's absolutely false.
I agree.
If love could have cured me, I'd have been cured a long time ago, brother. They adopted 4 of us from different families, and then they had Molly. She's like the miracle child, because you don't adopt 4 children and then if you can have them all along.
Right.
They sent us to my dad. He worked for General Motors his whole life, and he went in right out of college and worked extremely hard to provide well for our family. We didn't need anything, and everything that we wanted pretty much was there. And because of my poor choices and my poor decisions is why I ended up going down the road that I went down. If there's such a thing as a normal family, whatever normal is besides a setting on a washing machine, then I come from a normal family.
Well, Billy, we talked a little bit earlier. I grew up in the 70s, and to say that I didn't experiment or I didn't really try anything, that'd be a lie.
Right.
We're here to educate and, to bring it out in the open. A lot of times people, they got their heads up their butts or down in the sand, and it's like, oh, it doesn't happen here. Even though, when they went through college, they smoked, they drank, they did the things that addicts fall into.
Yes.
Now, with me, I thought it was a matter of choice, because I went through that and I didn't fall into that that tunnel of craziness.
That's what
why is it that 10%, it seems like, whether they get a prescription from a doctor or the alcohol or maybe smoking a joint or whatever it is, that just gets them on that path of addiction? What do you think that is?
I first of all, I'm not sure about percentages. I believe that everybody has a right to their own opinion, and I believe that there's opinions flying out there everywhere. I don't know about the 10% and this and then the 10% that, which is going to equal the 20%. I believe it's 50-50. I believe that, the drugs was not my problem. I have the disease of addiction. And for many years, I thought the drugs were my problem. But you see, it wasn't until I got schooled, 20 years of heavy addiction, I finally asked for help. And I started to become wise and become teachable. It really wasn't the drugs. The inability to control the use of drugs is a symptom of the disease of addiction. You can say, well, why would you do that? And people think when they hear about my story and where I ended up going, they think that, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just quit? And I would hear that a lot growing up. Oh, you should quit. This is a gateway to bigger and better drugs. And I would say, listen, you don't know what you're talking about. I got high for one of 3 reasons. Either I didn't like the way that I felt, or I wanted to feel different. And 9 out of 10 times for myself, the last 8 years out of the 20 years that I was caught in heavy active addiction, I didn't want to feel anything at all. And it worked every time I went out there and I got it. When our family members say, why don't you just stop? You know, when are you going to grow up? When are you going to pull your head out of your rear end? What did we do so different with you that we didn't do with these other ones? When we hear that stuff, you know, we cannot, at that point, because of our disease of addiction, we have progressed. I did not start shooting dope when I was 12 years old. It progressed from 12 years old until 1989, until 1990, until 1991, when I ended up progressing to the very hardcore drugs. We quit getting high a long time ago. When we say we don't have a choice, it's because of our body. It's because of the physical withdrawals that we have to go through. You would never understand it unless you went through it. I wouldn't wish it upon nobody. You know, the withdrawals of detoxing, especially off of heroin and opiates, we know you guys can't love us enough, and we can't be comfortable enough, and we know in our mind, and this disease is telling us $10. That's all it's going to take for us to get right. Not get high, but get right. And that's what we would call it, us drug addicts. We call it, we quit getting high a long time ago, we're just getting right. That's when we no longer have that choice. You know, at the beginning, did I have a choice? Sure I did. And you know what choice that I chose? We all like to be liked. We all like to be popular. We all like to fit in. We like to have friends. We want to feel accepted. And we are willing to do some dumb things to acquire those feelings. That's why I did the things that I did.
Exactly.
I wanted to be part of. I wanted to be the center of attention. I suffered from a problem, and my problem is myself. And I never knew that for a long time until I finally asked for help. You know, if you would have asked my parents, you know, 30-something years ago, if I would be sitting here with you today speaking about something like this, my mom and dad would tell you absolutely not. Because you see, he's either going to end up in a grave or in prison for the remainder of his life because of what I was doing to stay right. I don't believe it's a choice after a while. I don't. It's not as easy as just quit. You know, like that dog when I was in high school, what is that? I don't know, McGruff or something like that. You know, he would say drugs are bad. Just say no. Man, what kind of garbage is that?
Exactly. You know, I was watching this show. It was something losing weight or something. But this lady was losing weight, and one of her way of healing, you know, was her father was an alcoholic, and she sat down and she was telling him, you know, I didn't understand why you loved the alcohol more than me. You neglected me to, you know, to have your drink. And really, I mean, if you know my story, and with Briona, when I knew Briona was on doing the drugs and stuff, I didn't understand. I'm like, you seen your mom die of this. Why would you even attempt it? And her reply to me was, my mom loved this drug so much, I wanted to see what was in it that kept my mom away.
Yep.
Which was, you know, it was stupid. I mean, when I heard her say that, to me it was like, what are you talking about? You know, this is a death sentence. Yes. You know, you're playing Russian roulette
every day.
Well, that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. You know, addiction or whatever. You know, there's a lot of times we go to work and we've had a hard day, and it's like, oh, I'm going to go have a beer. Yep. Or I'm going to go have a drink of some sort, or I'm going to go smoke a joint, or whatever to, you know, to calm down or to get rid of the stress aspect of it. And a lot of times that's what it is. It's just you know, you want to numb things away, I guess. Yeah. You know, I've had some tragedies in my life, and from the tragedies, you know, from being so you know, being depressed or just hurting so bad, you know, I reached out to the medical community. You know, and from that, you know, I was diagnosed with depression, and I talked to a therapist for a couple months, and the therapist, man, I love this lady. You know, she cried with me, she felt Absolutely. With me, you know, and she made me open up my eyes, you know, to things the way that it is. But from that, you know, she thought that I needed to get get rest and sleep. And, so she turned me over to the psychologist so he could write prescriptions. And I didn't want the prescription, but, a lot of times it's the same thing with my daughter. They kept saying, oh, she's ADD, she's ADHD, then she's bipolar. And I think it's when I turned to the prescriptions that everything went downhill. With me, within 4 months of talking to the psychiatrist, he had me on 5 different medications. One to go to sleep, one to wake up, one to feel good, one to, and so I'm not groggy. At the last aspect of it, it's like, like I told my daughter, what is the difference between these drugs that you're getting from the doctor or from the drugs that you're getting in the street?
There isn't.
That's what I didn't understand.
There isn't any difference.
Billy, after I seen the psychiatrist the last time, he says to me, he says, well, how's this working out for you? I said, Doc, I'm still not sleeping. I'm still depressed, And I says, I don't think there's anything you can give me that's going to make me feel any different. I lost my child, I'm depressed. Maybe I just need to go through this, And he looked at me and he says, why did you come to see me? I said, I don't know why I came, but I know I'm not coming back.
Right on.
That's the whole thing is sometimes you have to take control of your own personal aspect. And to be honest with you, at that point, I put it in God's hands. And really, that was the only thing that could have helped me get through that pain I was feeling. Because God told us that, you put it in my hands and I'll help you through it.
Absolutely.
I love that poster, where the footprints in the sand, And it doesn't matter what religion or whatever. It's your own personal, thing with God. You have to have faith.
Absolutely.
Okay? And those people that don't have faith, they say, well, show me God and I'm believe. Well, show me he doesn't exist.
Thank you.
Okay? Listen, this is what worked for me. This is, I'm sure, what worked for you, right, Billy?
Yeah.
Because you can't, drugs, it's the devil. The devil's got a hold of you. And that's the only thing that's going to get you through it. Okay? That's something that's stronger than the devil. And there's only one thing, and that's God.
Correct. That's why when I finally asked for help, Suboxone wasn't invented. I'm not a fan of Suboxone. I think all Suboxone does is make that BMW payment for the psychiatrist and the doctors.
Yeah, just some other addiction.
It gives our next generation a much easier way to go through the withdrawals that us junkies need to feel. Because let's face it, that's what helped me quit sticking needles in my arm, is I had to detox like a junkie detoxes. Naked in a Bam Bam suit in a correctional facility with no bodily control. And I cried out to a God, Sam, that I didn't even like back then. I cried out to a God that I didn't even know, and I simply said, God, help me. You get me through this one. Now, we call that in the foxhole prayers. I'm not a big fan of many of the prescriptions that are out there today. The Vivitrol shot, $1,035 is what that cost.
Yeah.
$1,035 for me to incarcerate you. This is our government's way of taking care of the problem that we have. They say, well, we're going to incarcerate you for 7 days. And upon your release, we're going to give you a shot, a Vivitrol shot. And it's going to cost somebody, meaning us, the productive members of society, it's going to cost $1,035 a month. And what it does is, it's an opiate blocker. Now listen, I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I suffer with the disease of addiction today, tomorrow, and forever because it's progressive, incurable, and fatal. If you give me a shot that costs somebody $1,035 to block my opiate use, I have news for you. I am not just a junkie. I am also an alcoholic and a crackhead. I will simply snort Peru and smoke crack. It's not the answer. Once again, you're making BMW payments. I don't take anything. I don't take any pills from the doctors. In the 10 years that I've been clean and sober, I have had every reason to pick up, but I haven't had to. In the 10.5 years of being clean and sober and becoming the person that I was intended to be all along, I have been in situations where I've had to go to the hospital and they want to write me a prescription and they want to stick me with a needle. And I tell them, listen, man, I'm a junkie. You're not putting a needle nowhere near me. And second of all, save your pen and save the paper because I'm not taking nothing. My mind does not know the difference between what the doctors are giving me and what I'm buying on Avenue A and Martin Luther King Boulevard. I don't, it does the same thing to me. It turns something on that took God and society 20 years to turn off. The only thing that worked for me, you said it, it's God. Mm-hmm. In 1935, Dr. Bob and Bill W. formulated a 12-step program in Akron, Ohio. So it's tattooed on my arm. The whole point of them 12 steps is to bring people like myself to understand God. Not the God that I grew up with, not my jailhouse God, not the God that my parents gave me, but the God of my understanding. Not my higher power, something better than that, God. And that void that I had inside of me that I was filling with all the drugs, with all the women, with all the money, with all that lifestyle that comes with it, I was filling this void that in reality, it's the shape of God. And if it's the shape of God, then only one thing is going to fill that void, and that would be God. And when you get to the third step, it says that we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. For the first time in a dope fiend's life, I got to make my choice. It wasn't pushed on me by the court. It wasn't pushed on me by my parents. I got to look for Him. Nobody could tell me that it was wrong.
You know what I've read too, and I don't usually interject here, but I've read that the people who have a belief in God actually have a much greater chance of going through recovery without relapses or recidivism or whatever than those who are, trying more worldly, more secular approaches to it. And it's like 30 to 40% different studies I've seen, better of chances of them walking away from and living that, a cleaner life afterwards. So that's significant itself. And then some people will try to dismiss that, but I think that's pretty sobering. No pun intended. That statistic's pretty sobering.
You can't dismiss that. I'm glad that you brought that up. Because of my process, Sam, and you've heard my whole story. And because of that process and that kid that never knew God and that kid that was mad at a God and that kid that had all the answers but didn't know anything and the kid that, was so mad at God but didn't even know who God was and sometimes thought he even might be God. Today he's an outreach pastor. Today he travels the country.
Hallelujah.
He speaks and preaches everywhere. Today he's the founder of Crossing Over Ministries. Today he's the founder of Trials to Triumph. Today he goes every Sunday to where it all began for me. Memphis, Michigan, Sacred Heart Rehabilitation Center. And we bring the gospel of Christ. We bring God's word into that. Who better to help people who are sick and struggling, who feel hopeless and feel helpless and feel like they are totally unlovable because the world says that we're never going to get better. The world says that we're castaways and we're never going to amount to nothing. Who better to go in there and bring them a message from God and entertain the 12-step program so that they can understand it? I don't go there in a suit and say, my name is Pastor Billy P. I don't need a title. I use my title to get into jails, prisons, and hospitals. If I need to tell you that I'm a pastor for you to see that I love God and that I help people, then I'm really failing.
I don't know if you can see this face is just glowing.
It's supposed to glow. That's
I tell
the best dope around.
That's right. I tell you, Billy, I want to interject my story here a little bit. Okay, Briona was conceived. I went through a rubber, and believe me, I asked her mom. I said, please get an abortion, because I was worried.
Yeah.
She said, nope, I'm going to have her.
Good for her.
I said, well, hallelujah. Just know that I'm here. I'm her dad. Now I'm going to take care of her. And when she was born, I left her mom and I went right with her. When they were cleaning her up, and I put my finger in her hand. And she grabbed my hand. And I says, I'm your daddy. I'm your protector. I'm going to be here for you. And somewhere along the line, I lost my child to this crazy disease of addiction. And when I lost my child, I was pissed off at God.
Yep.
God, why you give her to me to take her away? Why you wanted me to feel this pain, And sometimes when you're when you're going through this dark tunnel, it opens up your eyes to the truth and to see the light at the end. I was asked to speak. I was asked to speak with this presentation, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that, because I had talked to the other father that lost a child 2 days after mine, and we said, we have to do something.
Absolutely.
We're losing too many kids. This crazy addiction has taken our children.
Yep.
It's like this, when you're going through it and this is going through your household, you live in a tunnel that you don't want nobody to know what's going on in your home. You're embarrassed, you're humiliated, But after she died, it was like, she's gone. I don't care who I talk to now.
Praise God.
So, when I was asked to speak, I was more than willing. And, the other father, he spoke too. And this presentation got like a mind of its own. All of a sudden, it just started, And they asked me, they called me back and they said, can we use your 911 call? And to be honest with you, every time I hear that 911 call, it's like I relive her death all over again. And it was like, trying to go through my depression and through all of this, it was God was telling me, I have something I want you to do.
Yep.
And I don't care how much you have your life planned out for you, sometimes we have to open our ears and really open our mind and our eyes to the light or what's happening. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really didn't really get it. Okay, I'm still struggling with this pain that I'm going through and the depression and all this. But Briona turned 18, and we as a family, we decided to go out on the, we decided to go out to the cemetery, for her 18th birthday.
Right on.
And the last Christmas that Briona was home, I had given her this dolphin necklace because she was into dolphins. And now through it all, when we got to the cemetery, the light was getting dark, but it was still light out. And the moon was just lit like you wouldn't believe. As we looked up into the moon, as seeing the light was shining on this cloud. And the cloud was a dolphin.
Right on.
And God was telling me, she's okay.
Yeah. She's better than okay.
And at that point, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulder, too. Was I pissed off? Yeah, I'm still pissed off.
Yep.
Was I still depressed? Yes, I'm still depressed. But I realized that I'm supposed to be doing this. This is my calling. This is what God wants me to do. To reach out to these children, to let them know about this terrible disease of addiction and try to break the stigma that goes with it. We lose 328 people a day. And our government's got their eyes closed. That's how I feel, okay? But the only way we can open their eyes is by communication, by getting you to open your eyes to what's happening. You listeners, don't wait till this is at your doorstep, because sooner or later it's coming. It's coming. Nobody is immune to this shit of addiction.
Not anybody.
Okay? And don't hate the addict. Hate the addiction.
Yep.
All right? And all I can say is, by bringing you, different aspects, we had that killing in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I think his name is Bruff or something. Right.
Yeah. What a mess.
Now, 6 months prior, this kid was picked up. Guess what he was picked up for? He was acting crazy at a mall. So they came and picked him up, and the kid was on Suboxone.
Thank you.
The whole thing is, our government, they don't want to see this mental health aspect of this addiction, because most people, okay, they have bipolar, or they're suffering with depression, or they're suffering with something else. That's why they got to the addiction. But it's upon us to open their eyes to what's happening in reality. We need to open their minds to the mental health aspect. And if you look at all the murdering and all the craziness that we've had in the last 10 years, it's always because they've had a mental health issue, and they've been prescribed over and over and heavily medicated.
Absolutely. I don't, if you come First of all, you're right. This is your calling.
Thank you.
It is. You know, God doesn't put nothing on our shoulders that we can't handle. And I tell people, it's okay to be mad at God. You know, I was so angry at him for the longest time, and he never gave up on me.
Well, I had 17 years, 15 years of great life with her, 2 years were rough, but I love that child. She showed me love that I never even knew.
Because the bond that you two have.
Yeah.
Yeah. God didn't take her from you. God stepped in when he was supposed to step in and help Briona.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I know how she felt. I've been there. I know how everybody out there in the disease of addiction feels. And you know what, partner? For the first time in her life, when God brought her back home, not took her from you,
yeah,
but brought her back home, he said, Sam, get ready, partner, because I'm about to put something on your shoulders, man, that you're going to feel like you can't handle. And you can. And that's why you're doing what you do. If you think that we came here to do this because we want to be seen or because we want to become famous, then you have no idea what a complete mess that this world is in. Because if you want to fight this fight, I got news for you. You're not going to be well liked, man, by society.
Exactly.
They do not like us, brother.
I know.
Because we say that you people don't know what the heck you're doing. They don't want us to say that. They say, well, who are you? Who are we? We're people that have experienced it and live it and finally took the horse blinds off. That's who we are. We're not afraid to call it as it is because it's a mess.
It is a mess.
The people that are out there making these laws and making these rules, they walk around today with us in a world with horse blinds on. And they act like everything is okay within their own house. And the bottom line is and you know this, there is not a family in the entire world who does not have somebody suffering with the disease of addiction in one form or another. We're just embarrassed. We don't want our neighbors to know what's really happening within our home. But let me tell you something. If you don't take them horse blinds off, we're going to continue losing instead of doing what we should be doing, which is winning. You're on the winning team today, buddy. You are. I'm honored to be here with you.
Well, I am
I
honored to
speak
have
all
you.
over the United States, and God has put many of people in my path. I knew you before I even met you. Because when your daughter went home to be with God, my phone rang in Durham, Michigan, bro. And I get calls from kids. And they say, Billy, it's not fair. And I say, I know it's not fair. And they say, do you know her? I said, no, I don't. They said, well, and then when they told me what happened, I said, I know her. Because I know how she feels. If you don't take your past and learn from it and share it with others so that maybe other people can be prevented or get schooled and educated, then you're not really doing what you're supposed to be doing. The richness comes from within here. I struggle making a consumer's power pill to pay my bills. You know what? I don't care. Since I've gotten clean and sober, a short 10 and a half years ago, I am one of the richest people that I've ever met because of what's inside of me.
Exactly.
Because of being used for something good. In our society, it's being destroyed. And we have people that are running around and they're acting like they know what's going on, and they really don't. There's a big difference between helping and enabling. And family members have a really, really, really hard time with that. Some family members, in fact, many family members that I talk to on a regular basis, they are helping. They're helping the addict die slowly. Because they just don't know how to create tough love. They think, well, if I just send them to the right place and if I just do this, then things will be different. No. The addict has to want it for his or herself. And there is one thing that has proven, that has worked. That's a 12-step program. I am not proud to be a drug addict. I'm not proud to be an alcoholic, and I'm surely not proud of everything that I've done. I'm not proud to be a 4-time convicted felon. I'm not proud to have been property of Michigan Department of Corrections for 16 years of my life. I've been called a crackhead, a drunk, a convict, a whore, a liar, a thief, and a menace to society. I'm proud to be a member of a 12-step program. I'm proud to be a retired crackhead. I'm proud to be a retired junkie. I'm proud to be a child of God. I'm proud to carry a message instead of a mess. And I'm proud to look at you as a man and tell you that I love you.
Love you too.
And I don't know how you feel, because I can't lie to you, and I've never experienced that. But I know that I'm behind you 100%, man, and everything that you fight for, bro.
Thank you, Billy B. Billy P. Love you, man. Listen, the experiences of life that we have, it's not just for our own, but it's to help fellow man.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's not to be selfish, and it's all about us. Okay? When my daughter was going through this, you know, I looked to the system for help, and there was no help there. And I felt she just slid through the cracks, because I didn't know what to do for her. To be honest with you, I thought it was about choice. I remember this one time, Briona was, she had done $700 worth of dope.
Yep.
And they caught her in some house, and they called me from, they were taking her to the courthouse. They says, meet us at the courthouse. So I get over there, and Briona is just a mess. And she's just crying for something to calm her down or bring her down or whatever, you know. So the magistrate at the time, he said, you know, send her to the hospital before we send her to the detention center. So I follow her over to the hospital, you know, and they take her to Hurley. And again, she's crying to this doctor, please give me some Suboxone, give me something.
Yeah.
Something to bring me down.
Help me deal with this.
Yep. And this doctor, she just starts yelling at her. You did this to yourself. You know, why should I do anything for you? I got all these sick people, you know. Here's somebody that took an oath to help people that were sick.
Yeah.
And here's someone that should know that's a sickness. I mean, if a doctor doesn't realize that this is a sickness, then who the hell is?
Thank you.
But, you know, at the same time that she's yelling at her, now it's like pumping me up. Yeah, why don't you just quit? Why don't you just listen? Why don't you just do what you need to do? Why do you keep doing this?
Yeah.
You know? I remember I walked away. You know, I didn't even say goodbye to my daughter that day. But 3 days later, I came to see her at the detention center. And my daughter's jaw was all twisted. I said, what the hell happened to you? She said, Dad, I was so fucked up, excuse my French, you know, this guard, she wanted me to do something, and I said no or something, so she beat me up. At a detention center, you know, here's where people, or these guards, are supposed to know how to treat these children, or how to handle these children, you know, and not put their hands on them. But this is what happened. And the reason I bring this point out is we have almost 1 million doctors that are medical doctors, and they don't have a clue how to treat addiction.
Thank you.
We have less than 3,000 doctors that specialize in addiction.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Somewhere there, it doesn't matter. You know, it should be a little different than that. But here's the thing. You go to a doctor, and he knows, once he knows you're hooked, that doctor turns his back on you, and he lets you go out and don't come back into my office. You're an addict. That's it. I'm not writing you any more prescriptions or whatever. Even though that doctor might have got you to become an addict. Okay? Once you turn your back on that, or the doctor turns his back on you, what do? You
go to the streets.
You turn to the streets.
We go to the streets.
Okay.
We don't know no different.
And a lot of times you might go in, you know, because you were in an accident or whatever. You're a recovering addict. And sure enough, that's the first thing they want to do, is they want to write you a prescription for opiates or something. Okay. You tell them, well, I'm an addict. Well, guess what? Oh, okay. I'll write you something else. My father, back in the early 70s, was in a bad car accident. They didn't think he was going to live. I remember he was prescribed morphine.
Oh, yeah.
And he brought home these shots that my mom would give him. And I remember my dad never ever laid a hand on me. But I remembered this one day he didn't have any, and he was crazy. Yep. He was just acting out of control. And that was the first time my father ever laid a hand on me. My father, he didn't have any morphine. It was like on the weekend. So what he did is we had this drink. It's called ouzo.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like ouzo, but it's arak is what we call it. Okay, ouzo is a Greek style.
Yeah.
So I remember my dad, he took this bottle of alcohol and he put it in the syringe and he shot himself with it.
Yep.
Monday morning, my mom, she took my dad to the crazy hospital over in Pontiac when there was still one. And he got himself admitted, to get off the morphine that the doctor got him started on. He had, he was still a parent, and through my mom, because of her strength, she got him to go to the rehab, the crazy hospital, and he would tell me, he said, that was the craziest thing that ever happened to him. He says they put you through this thing and it's like this big metal door closes and it was like you were in prison.
Yep.
And he said, you've seen it all, but because he had kids and he knew that he was in a bad place at that point, and because he put his hands on me, somebody that he loved more than anything, he knew that he needed to get help.
Yeah, but see, that doesn't always happen. When I graduated from high school and found out that I was my own worst problem, because everywhere I went I brought myself with me, and do what you've always done and get what you've always gotten. Nothing changes, then nothing changes. And that's what we're here about, is change. Something has to change.
Right.
Or nothing is going to get any better. Out of all the geographical changes that I made, I remember my last change was, I've got the answer. I have one more move in me. I'm going to leave Flint and I'm going to go to Detroit. That's why we call it dope, because I moved to a much larger Flint is what I did. And by the time that happened, I had already been in a car accident, 94 going into 95, on New Year's Eve. I woke up 7 days later in Hurley Medical Center. The state police were in my room. My parents were in my room. There was a priest in my room. I've had tubes hanging out all over me. And all I said is, what is going on here? I lost my left corner, my left kidney. My lungs collapsed twice. I have a chip in my left hip. They said, we don't even know exactly what's totally wrong with you yet. We're surprised that you even woke up. I was in that hospital, Sam, for a month. Now, you would think something like that would make an addict or make somebody who's doing the things that I was doing change their ways of living. It didn't. It just made me slow down a little bit until I could regain my physical health. Then I went right back out there. When I was in Detroit in my best thinking, I ended up living in a tent in the alleys of Detroit off of Warren Avenue on Minnock. And I was eating out of dumpsters. And I never raised my hand when I was growing up and said that when I grow up I want to be a junkie. And I never raised my hand and said when I grow up I want to be a crackhead and a 4-time convicted felon and a menace to society. I never volunteered for any of that. So it's not a choice. Like society thinks, oh, you have a choice. No, dude, we don't.
Yeah.
That's where it will take you. Nobody's excluded from it. When we say jails, institutions, and death, it doesn't even have to go in that order. It doesn't. But those are the only things that will end up ever happening to us. Well, I met my wife while I was in Detroit, and back then I thought that God put her in my life for my satisfaction, because I had become a real selfish, self-centered person. And I have done some things to my wife that I'm not proud of. On one hand, I want to say that I loved her to death, and on the other hand, I would treat her in a way that you don't treat women. We had our first child, Cain. And on one hand, I would say, oh, he's just the best thing that's ever happened to me. And on the other hand, I would say, for the right amount of money, I would sell my son. For the right amount of money, I would get rid of my son. That's how bad it is. So for
That's
your father to be able to do that, yes. When you say, my dad never laid his hand on me except one time. Listen, your dad never laid his hand on you, period. because that wasn't your dad,
Yeah.
partner. When we say that, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, we mean it. And I'm not making an excuse for the things that we've done. But you see, we live in a world today where we're called a mistake. But in reality, we're not. Just because we have made every mistake possible, that does not make us a mistake. The only people who haven't made mistakes are the ones that haven't gotten caught. And the only people who haven't broken the law are just the ones that haven't been caught. That's the world that we live in. But we would rather go to the doctor and get a prescription and spend $1,035 for a shot and spend $350 a month on Suboxone for an individual. When in reality, I'm sorry, all that's doing is prolonging the inevitable. The only answer is complete abstinence. When people go out with me and they're like, Billy, how long are you going to go to the meetings that you go to? I'm like, probably until God takes me home. I go and I take people out to dinners, and the thing that trips me out is today, when I go out to a dinner with somebody and they order a drink, and they have that same drink in front of them throughout the whole course of the dinner. I'm talking like 2 hours. They're on the same drink. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking to myself, dude, you're messed up, man. Why would you? That doesn't make no sense to me. Because I have the disease and they don't. Why would I want to take a pill that the doctor's going to give me when my only true freedom is freedom from self? Families who are destroyed today. Just because I'm the only addict and I'm the only alcoholic within my family, my whole family suffers. Therefore, there's help for the whole family. Restoration, not just for the addicts, but restoration for the entire family. And that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen in Flint. That's what needs to happen in Pontiac. It needs to happen everywhere. You see, because if we continue to do the same thing, then we're going to get what we've always gotten. We have to do something different. Otherwise, it is going to get worse than what it already is. And I am tired, so tired, of burying kids and trying to explain to a broken family how good God is. How to explain to the society of what we have to do. We have to become selfless. We have to give of ourselves and become of service to others in order for something to be different. And we're not. All we do is we create more drugs to give out there so that the rich can keep on being rich and the sick keep on being sick and the ones that don't make it keep on not making it. That's what I'm totally against. I'm not well liked in a lot of areas, and I got news for you. I don't care. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to tell the truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is in 1980s. The drug company, they thought, we're losing so much money on these pain pills, these opiates, that was only really given out to people that were dying. So they didn't really know the after effects of these drugs. You go into any doctor now, and you've got this chart on the wall, and the chart is, where's your pain level? And it's got the smiley faces down to the frowns, from 1 to 10. So where is your pain level? So guess what? Out of all the pills that we manufacture right here, we absorb 95%.
Yep.
The other 5% is a lot bigger world, okay, than us, but they only take up 5% of what's manufactured. And here's another thing, they keep saying, well, there's a rise in heroin, there's a rise in this. Well, why is it? 80% of all heroin users, okay, 80% they started on the prescription drugs. And not only is it the opiates, I don't care if it's a mental health drug that they give you for depression or anything, everything is given to you with some kind of side effect. And every time they give you a pill, they give you another one to counteract whatever the side effects of that pill is. Yep. So, most people are on 2 or 3 different kinds of medication. A while back, I I told you about this shirt that came across on Facebook, and the guy says, I started with this pill for cholesterol, and from that I got, another pill for high blood pressure, then another pill for something else, and then the writer, he says, it seems funny, but really it's not. It doesn't seem like we're, as a society or people that are trying to heal, are healing anything. Nope. All they want to do is put you on medication that you're going to be on for the rest of your life. All they give a shit about is the dollars, yep, and not about anything about you, okay? And they don't care how many people die every day. All they care is they're getting paid. Okay, and that's the whole thing of why I do this show, and I want to wake you up. I want you to, because that's how I felt. I felt like I was asleep, yep, until I lost my daughter. Okay, and it was like I started noticing things that was right in front of me all the time. It's like I don't want to get involved, or I don't want to speak out. Let somebody else do it. No.
It'll be better tomorrow.
Yeah, it ain't going to get any better.
No.
It ain't going to get better. It's getting worse every day, okay? And it's about us becoming together as a nation, as a people, yep, and holding these people that we got in office, holding them accountable,
Absolutely.
All right? Listen, a lot of times, people that are well off or whatever, you don't think that this is happening in their home? Yes, it is.
Oh, yes,
but they have enough money to send their kid to another country, another state, another whatever, okay, where you never hear about it.
No.
Okay? And it's us little people that struggle.
I don't know about little. I don't think we're little. I think we're average. I do. And I think the places that those people get sent to that you're talking about, I think they go to that place that says, what is that? It's like a Taj Mahal. It's I should know. I was an addict once. This is not a 12-step program. It works. I think that's where they go. Somewhere where they go to get cured. But in reality, the disease of addiction is progressive, incurable, and fatal. It's powerful, it's cunning, and it's baffling. The right amount of money, there isn't a certain place that you can go. Instead of, you were correct when you said that we need to come together. Okay, when I came to know God finally, and I came to sell out to God, and I came to say, you know what, man, you've been there the whole time, partner. The whole time I thought I was on my own, and I thought that I was the man. I didn't even know what a man was supposed to be, and here I'm thinking that I am a man. And today I know who the man is. And I'm good, because all that means is all I have to do is just simply be a man. And that's not easy, is it, Sam?
No.
Just trying to be a man.
That's right.
A better person than I was the day before. But you see, the money that is spent for all these pills. If I went to my doctor today, which I had to go to my doctor, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and I had to call my wife and I had to say, Coco, I need a doctor's appointment for my lower back. I haven't been to the doctor in 9 years. I didn't even know who my family physician was. I had to call my wife and say, do I have a family physician? She said, yes, you do. So I go there, yada, yada, yada. But my point being is this. If I went to my doctor today, or I went into any doctor, and I said, and we just spoke, they would tell me that I'm bipolar. They would tell me that I'm dual diagnosed. They would tell me that I suffer from depression, when in reality they don't even know who I am or who I once was. I don't have to take a pill today. When we come together, and what Sam means by coming together, it means fighting the good fight for a positive outcome. Bring it to Congress's attention. Bring it to everybody's attention that the answer is not in these pills and it's not medicating. All that means is we have become a country that are stuck on Band-Aids. And Band-Aids don't stick on me. Band-Aids hide my feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah, the funding needs to be get these people the help that they need. People say, well, you know, we're tired of so-and-so going to a treatment facility after treatment facility after treatment facility. Listen. You can't be tired. Okay? After 20 years, I went into one treatment facility, Sacred Heart in Memphis, Michigan, November 11th, 2004. They gave me a 12-step program, and they educated me. And I detoxed again. But the coolest part was I detoxed from my last time because I haven't put nothing in my body since then. The state of Michigan funded me. The state of Michigan funded this dope fiend on November 11th, 2004. And I got news for you. That's the smartest $5,500 that the state of Michigan has ever paid for this individual. That's the best $5,500 that the state of Michigan ever paid for anybody, because that's when I started becoming an asset to the society instead of a castaway. I'm not going to rob you no more or take from our community. I'm going to give back to our community. The Vivitrol shot, $1,035. Do you understand that that one shot for that 1 month, which is only a Band-Aid, could send 2.5 people to a treatment facility? Do you understand it costs $300 to get somebody who's in a treatment facility right now into a 3/4 house? And people are going to say, well, why would we want to spend $300 or $400 to help somebody get into a 3/4 house? You want to know why? Because they don't know what else to do. When you leave treatment or you leave jail and we get thrown back out into the streets, Sam, we're not coming home to you, Pops. Because we don't know what to do. We're going to do what we've always done, and we're going to get what we've always gotten. That's where the solutions are. It's in the 3/4 houses. It's in the halfway houses. It's in the treatment facilities. It's the only cure. No, sorry, bad word. It's the only solution. Just because I can't be cured, it's treatable. And my treatment is the only thing that I know that works for everybody. It's a combination of a 12-step program and God.
You know, we've had this war on drugs since the 70s, and all it's done is it's built more housing to lock people away.
Oh, I've been there.
And I'd say 60% of everybody that's in the prisons are for nonviolent crimes.
More than that. It actually is more than that. 82% of the cases that go in front of every judge in today's society, in here and now, 82% of them are chemical dependent on something. Whether it be drugs or alcohol, and it's all the same thing to me. Alcohol's a drug.
Sure.
If it's minor mood altering and it makes you feel good, 82% of those people every day in front of those judges, no matter where you live, that's a big number, partner.
And the whole thing is, why I was getting at that is, Billy, it would cost us less as a society, instead of locking these people away, to really give them treatment.
Praise God. That's the smartest thing I've heard this whole entire year.
You know, and you keep saying, if I keep doing the same thing, I'm going to end up with the same results. Well,
Yeah.
Our government, we keep doing the same thing.
Thank you.
And nothing is really changing. You would think, well, damn, a jackass would change.
You would think. However, but here's the difference between a jackass and the government. The government is comfortable. You could put a donkey in a hole and think, how are you going to get this donkey out? And you can throw dirt on top of that donkey's back, and every shovel you put on him, that donkey's going to shake. That dirt's going to fall underneath him, and he's going to stomp on it. Partner, you throw enough dirt on that donkey, he's going to walk out of that hole. Government's going to continue to dig that hole deeper and deeper. People think, and they say, and I do believe that us addicts, we have to hit our rock bottom. And they think that it has to take like a horrible disaster or this big event. And I shared with you about that car accident way back in the beginning. And I've been shot, I've been stabbed, I've been beat down, I've been left in alleys, I've been in places that people don't need to be. And that's what the disease of addiction will take you to. And you would think all that would have been enough for me to hit my rock bottom. Your rock bottom is when you quit digging. I quit digging November 11, 2004, and I refuse to pick up a shovel because I'm done. And you're right, you know, the government, the one thing that I have seen our government do and our counties do that I absolutely am for is drug court. You know, drug court they set drug court up to fail. Okay, it's hard to pass drug court. This dope fiend, back then, I never would have been able to pass drug court. They just sentenced me to do time in whatever facility happened to catch me. I do agree with drug court. I also agree with our criminal system. Yes, things do take place, and not everybody goes to their job for the right reason. You can tell when you go to the hospital what nurse is there because they genuinely love people. They genuinely care. and want to help people.
Yeah.
Or what nurse is there for a paycheck? Well, you have that everywhere you're at, including in there. What happened with Briona? I'm going to have to guess that that's probably a person that was not there because they want to see people win. I believe that that was a person who just simply wants a paycheck.
Exactly.
They probably go home miserable with 15 cats that are peeing all over everything that they own in their house, and they come to work and they take it out on people.
You're probably right.
I believe that every time that I was incarcerated, now back then I never would have told you this, but this program is honest. I believe that every time that I ended up incarcerated, it was God. I believe that it was God protecting me from myself, and I believe that it was God protecting society from the person that I had become. And I believe that that's why I'm still here today. It's a process for everybody. What are we going to do that's different? Where are we going to put these funds at? You know, at the end of next month, I'm going to be speaking at our Capitol in Lansing. I'll probably get arrested because I'm going to say stuff that they're not ready to hear. And I don't care. You can't shut me up because I've been there.
Well, that seems like, you know, when somebody does speak the truth, you know, they want to shut them up.
Yes.
Or, you know, I know that, you know, well, we'll go there another time. We're getting low on time. But the whole thing is we need to be speaking.
Yep.
We need to be talking. We need to be communicating. We need to be educating, okay? And that's why I think people that's walked those shoes, okay, they have something that we need to listen to, you know? And treatment does work, okay? I think a lot of times with Briona, where the failure was is when they let go of her. When they had control of her through the court and stuff, she did what she needed to do.
Absolutely. But when the rubber hit the pavement and she was cut loose.
Exactly. That's when she lost it. And I kept telling them that, you know, but, oh, she's 17, you know, what are we going to do? Whatever. It's like, I didn't have no control, and they didn't want no control. So it's like, you know, I lost my child. I can't bring her back, you know, but hopefully that I can educate you, and you can hear my voice, and hopefully we don't lose your child. That's why we do this, you know. That's why I feel this calling. I tell these kids, listen, I lost my child. I'm not doing this for me because I'm reliving her death every time I come out in front of you. But I'm hoping from Briona's story that you can be saved.
Yep.
And that's why Billy does what he does. It's about giving back. And listen, when your whole body aches and there ain't nothing in the world that's going to change, okay, from losing a child, I don't want you to feel that pain. The emptiness that I feel inside, that can never be filled. Never be filled. But what works, or what sometimes it feels great, is when somebody reaches out to you and they say, you know what, from hearing your story, you saved my life.
Yep.
And it's the best feeling in the world.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's nothing better than that. Listen, this is Briona's legacy, and the reason we do this is hopefully to unite us together, okay? Because the louder the voice, the more that something is going to change and something is going to get done. And the big thing is we hold these people accountable that are supposed to be working for we the people. We're the ones that we put them in office, and it's about us to accept whatever they're giving us. And it's about us to say, enough is enough. Let's make a difference. Let's make a change. All right? And listen, the big thing I always say is one hand doesn't clap by itself.
Nope.
Okay? Don't wait till this addiction or this disease is at your doorstep. If it's not already there, please unite us, unite somebody. Okay? Come to meetings or whatever it is that you need to do. Let's make our communities better, because it doesn't matter where you live. This disease is everywhere.
Absolutely.
And no one is immune.
Nope.
Okay? Again, thank you for joining me today, Billy. I really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you having me.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
Definitely.
Again, thanks for listening today. This is All Points TV, Briona's Legacy. Keep us on the tune.